The plane landed at around 3:30 this afternoon. On board were also more than 50 mainland tourists who will travel on to Guangzhou. The flight was specially arranged by the Foreign Ministry, and Under-Secretary for Security Lai Tongkwok was at the airport to thank the pilots from China Southern Airlines. The passengers originally held return tickets to come back to Hong Kong after their holidays, but they are expected to pay for the special flight.
We already asked them to surrender the return portion to us, and then we will get all the tickets and talk to the airline and see what kind of refund we can get. And we will negotiate, and we'll sort of liaise with the Security Bureau and find the final settlement about the return portion.
Some returnees recall the tension on the streets in Egypt.
Touch and go, it's a lot worse for the Egyptian people. You know, it's easy for us, we're tourists. We get to come back here. But what you got to remember is the people on the street in Egypt.
Some of them, like this woman, had their holiday cut short. Other groups of tourists returned from Cairo on their originally scheduled flights. Some complained of a lack of information when they were in Egypt.
A bit slow from my point of view.
The Travel Industry Council believes most Hong Kong travellers in Egypt are now back home.
It's been a busy day at the airport as tens of thousands of people head out for holidays. Those going to Japan have experienced delays because of a volcanic eruption there. Andrew Lau reports.
It was an exodus from Hong Kong at the airport this morning. Some went for the snow in Hokkaido.
I've never been there before, so just the culture, experience a different culture.
While others opted for a warmer climate.
Why Bali?
Just get away from the cold.
But some flights to Japan were delayed for more than 3 hours because of this. Mount Shimoe on the southern island of Kyushu erupted for the 6th time since last week at around 5:30 this morning. The columns of smoke reached as high as 2,000 meters. The ash and poor visibility made it dangerous for airplanes anywhere near the volcano. Most flights from Hong Kong were able to depart for Japan eventually. But Cathay Pacific Airways advises travelers to check the latest flight information on its website before making their way to the airport. The Civil Aviation Department expects Friday to be the peak of this travel period, with more than 950 flights in and out of Hong Kong, and that's a record high number of flights for a single day. Andrew Lau, TVB News.
Now we're just hours away from saying goodbye to the Year of the Tiger and welcoming the Year of the Rabbit. Lunar New Year Eve is a time of togetherness for many Chinese families, and many are doing that by taking a stroll at the Chinese New Year fairs. Now let's go to Victoria Park, and this is the fair there right now. It is the biggest of 14 such fairs all over Hong Kong this evening, and the weather is good for a walk outside if you choose to do so. All kinds of goodies, and here this is Mong Kok. Now the good news for vendors is that the seasonal flowers on offer are in good time. They were a bit worried earlier about the lack of a warm spell since Christmas, but the tangerine trees, peach blossoms and narcissus, you see all these ones, they are looking pretty good. The warm spell is needed to bring the flowers into bloom, but these are looking pretty good, as you can see. Now, if you are considering staying out tonight, most of the public transport systems are putting on extra services. Most of the lines on the MTR system, for example, are running overnight, and the bus companies are extending their service hours as well. Now, our crews have been walking around that fair at Victoria Park you saw earlier, and this is what they have been seeing. They all seem to be doing a brisk business. All the signs of a thriving economy at this year's Lunar New Year fair. There were no last-minute bargains, and with only a handful of goods left, vendors were still not offering any discounts. In fact, many shops like this one has been consistently putting up prices since the fair started a few days ago, but the customers keep coming. The vendor said he sold 2/3 of his goods today, and if he is running short, he might consider charging even more. A festive spirit and a festive laugh. This game makes mockery of property developers buying up Hong Kong. But you will have to wait if you want one. They are sold out at the fair, and the shop is only booking orders. And the chief executive, Donald Tsang, enlisted a group of young actors and rabbits to bring in his New Year message for the public this year. It's a video showing the children on a visit to Government House. One of the rabbits hides under a sofa. Zhang lures it out with a tangerine. He said later that coordinating the kids and the animals during the filming was quite a challenge.
正所謂動若脱兔，兔仔不單是係活潑敏捷，亦都帶嚟歡樂。我哋恭祝大家喺兔年身體健康，笑口常開。
And coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Tens of thousands of Australians are heading for safety tonight as a monster cyclone approaches the northeast coast. Queensland State Premier Anna Bligh issued a blunt warning to residents.
The window of opportunity for you to get to a safer area is closing very quickly. Do not bother to pack bags. Just grab each other and get to a place of safety.
Cyclone Yasi is packing winds of up to 300 kilometres an hour. The outer bands are reaching the mainland after whipping across Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Emergency services issued dire warnings of potential devastation for cities and towns dotted along the Queensland coast. The storm will compound misery in Queensland. It has already been hit by months of flooding that killed 35 people and inundated hundreds of communities. Yasi is due to hit north of the main waterlogged area, but resources in the region are already stretched.
A massive winter storm roared into America's heartland, affecting about a third of the U.S. population and paralyzing roads, airports, schools, colleges and offices. Chicago is bracing for as much as 60 centimeters of snow, one of its worst blizzards in more than 40 years. Public schools called a snow day for the first time in 12 years, and both O'Hare and Midway airports gave up on flying until at least Wednesday afternoon. Nearly 6,000 flights had been cancelled across America. Thousands of office workers in Chicago's famous downtown Loop district left early to avoid any transit troubles. The snow also led Chicago officials to close the city's busy and iconic Lakeshore Drive after numerous accidents that stranded motorists and buses for several hours. City officials said the move was temporary, but that they could have to close it again if high winds push waves as high as 7.5 centimeters from nearby Lake Michigan onto the roadway. Now, U.S. federal aviation officials are giving airport scanners another try. This time, they are not looking as closely under travelers' clothes. The Transportation Security
表達多年嘅憤怒，要穆巴拉克星期五之前落台。除咗開羅，大規模反穆巴拉克嘅示威遍佈最少5個城市。第二大城市亞歷山大港亦都有數以10萬人湧上街頭，有人將穆巴拉克嘅假人吊起。人民展示咗力量，兼且失去美國嘅支持，穆巴拉克終於讓步。
That I was not intent on standing for the next elections because I have spent enough time in serving Egypt.
不過穆巴拉克話佢會留到9月任期屆滿，至將政權和平移交，又暗示唔會離開國家。
This dear country is my country. I have lived in this country. I have fought for it. I have defended its sovereignty and interests, and I will die on its land.
唔少示威民眾睇住電視直播，穆巴拉克嘅讓步顯然平息唔到佢哋嘅憤怒，相反仲激發咗佢哋，揚言要穆巴拉克立即落台離開埃及。反對派表明唔接受，好多人已經喺解放廣場紮營留守，聲言直至穆巴拉克落台。亞歷山大港更加有反政府示威者同穆巴拉克嘅支持者衝突，軍方坦克駛向群眾阻嚇制止，一度傳出槍聲。有分析指，未來幾日軍方嘅態度好關鍵。假如示威繼續升級，軍方為免被視為幫兇，可能唔再支持穆巴拉克，咁佢就可能捱唔到9月就要落台。有線電視記者李佩珊報道。
喺開羅解放廣場晏晝再有示威，當局採取緩和局勢嘅措施，包括縮短宵禁時間3個鐘，又解除對互聯網嘅封鎖。軍方發聲明話，大家已經表達咗訴求，希望民眾幫手令埃及嘅生活回復正常。 穆巴拉克話唔爭取連任，咁好明顯啊，美國覺得讓步係未夠啊。
總統奧巴馬咧係繼續施壓嘅，咁佢話埃及政權呢要即時展開有秩序過渡。匡偉常報導。
奧巴馬回應穆巴拉克唔尋求連任，明顯覺得佢做得仲未夠。
What is clear, and what I indicated tonight to President Mubarak, is my belief that an orderly transition must be meaningful, it must be peaceful, and it must begin now.
呢一番話，奧巴馬同穆巴拉克私下傾電話時坦率表達。華盛頓郵報報導，奧巴馬派去埃及嘅特使威斯納星期二同穆巴拉克會面，表達美國嘅睇法，就係穆巴拉克表明唔爭取連任，同埋盡早交出權力對局勢有幫助。又話會面時花大部分時間去討論盡早交權，但奧巴馬同國家安全顧問班子喺白宮睇直播，發現穆巴拉克只係聽咗一半建議。奧巴馬於是同穆巴拉克傾咗半個鐘。白宮官員話，整個對話關鍵詞係即時展開過渡。對於連日嚟走上街頭嘅反政府示威者，奧巴馬亦有説話同佢哋講。
The people of Egypt, particularly the young people of Egypt, I want to be clear. We hear your voices.
奧巴馬話：佢哋追求自由嘅熱情，激發全球各國人民，包括美國。軍方取態左右埃及政局。奧巴馬亦都讚揚埃及軍隊，希望佢哋確保國家和平過渡。
And I want to commend the Egyptian military for the professionalism and patriotism that it has shown thus far in allowing peaceful protests while protecting the Egyptian people.
有線電視記者鄺美常報道。
如果穆巴拉克倒台，邊個嚟接任呢？外界估計啦，國際原子能機構前總幹事巴拉迪同埃及前外長穆薩啦，就有可能咧會競逐下任嘅總統㗎。咁究竟兩位有乜嘢過人之處呢？8點嘅國際最前線會再詳細講。我哋講翻啦，滯留喺樂蜀嘅170個香港人啦，佢哋坐內地安排嘅專機咧喺下晝咧係翻到嚟香港嘅。咁部分人話咧滿意安排，雖然行程係縮短咗，但好高興翻到香港食團年飯。由古志雄報導。
載住170個港人嘅中國南方航空專機，下晝3點29分喺香港機場降落，亦都係首次有客機由埃及直飛香港。呢班機係內地當局應本港要求派去埃及樂蜀，接載滯留喺當地嘅香港旅客。除咗多個香港旅行團合共160人之外，仲有大約10個自由行嘅香港人。有旅行團成員話：喺埃及只係玩咗1日。
係啦，行大運咯。街上面我哋喺樂蜀都見到有坦克、有裝甲車，但係就OK 嘅，
失落嘅亦都有嘅，就係好似個假期短咗咁啦，下次再去過咯。
至於呢班專機嘅費用，保安局話係以用者自負嘅原則處理，唔會用公帑找數，遲啲會同旅遊業議會跟進。旅遊業議會話會收翻旅客嗰張未用過嘅回程機票，咁幫佢哋向航空公司商討退款，補翻今次專機嘅費用。有線電視記者古志雄報導。
留喺香港過年咧一樣熱鬧㗎，我哋睇下維園年宵市場嘅情況啦。我哋見到咧越夜越多人，真係好熱鬧啊！嗱，可以話天公造美喎，今晚咧唔係好凍，大家都出嚟行翻個大運啊！
咁啊年卅晚當然唔少得嘅，梗係一家人開開心心食餐團年飯啦。你睇尖沙咀呢一間酒樓嚇，已經係座無虛席啊！咁有啲咧仲係咧一家大細啊，有老有嫩咁齊齊嚟食飯，開緊餐添啊！喂，係嚴敏基啊！咁啊酒樓今晚團年飯嘅生意咧應該相當唔錯噃。
係啊，呢度咧全場都爆滿啊！仲要個半月之前咧就要訂台，咁喺度食啦，嗌個套餐就唔使自己煮啊嘛！嗱，好似呢一家人咁啦，我問阿彭先生啊，嗱，今日咧一家人出到嚟食飯，嗌咗啲咩？
人民幸福安康。